Good evening, guys. Today I am going to explain about the rise of food price. Food is a basic necessity that is essential for maintaining health and well-being. Nowadays, the price of essential food items in Malaysia for cooking oil increased due to inflation, higher production costs, and supply chain disruption. Rising food price places a greater financial burden on low-income such as B40 families, making it more difficult for them to afford balanced and nutritious meal. As a result, many families are forced to reduce food portion or choose cheaper, less nutrition alternatives, which may negatively affect their health and quality of life. Sustainable Development Goal, known as SDG 2, Zero Hunger. There are three objectives here, such as end hunger and improve nutrition, and ensure everyone has access to safe, nutritious, and affordable food. Lastly, promote sustainable agriculture and food security.
Alright, next slide is a research on a current issue of rising food prices in Malaysia. Based on my research, the rise of food prices become a growing concern in Malaysia. Many people are finding it harder to afford a daily necessity because the price of basic food such as rice, vegetables and cooking oil have increased. The issues affects many households, especially the low-income families, as they need to spend more money on the food. Why is it happening? From the research, I found that the reason why food prices become expensive or increasing in Malaysia, first reason is the higher fuel cost. At increased cost of transporting food, as fuel become more expensive, the businesses need to spend more on the delivery and logistics. Second, increased transportation cost means that moving food from the farms or factories or ports to the stores cost more, and these extra costs are often passed on the consumer. Then, climate change and extreme weather also play a major role. Sometimes floods and heat waves can damage crops and reduce food production. Leading to shortage and higher price also become a major role. Malaysian also depends on import food for certain products. When global food prices increase or the exchange rate weakens, import food become more expensive. As a result, food prices become or continue to rise and affect consumers across the country.
For evidence 1, we use a government source from the Department of Statistics Malaysia published in 2026. According to the Consumer Price Index report, Malaysia's overall inflation increased by 1.9% in April 2026. In addition, the food and beverages category increased by 1.2% compared to April 2025. These statistics show that the price of food and daily necessities are continuing to rise. As food becomes more expensive, many families have to spend a large part of their income on groceries. This situation affects low-income families the most because they have limited financial resources. Some families may choose cheaper food instead of healthier options, which can reduce the quality of their diet and increase the risk of poor nutrition. Therefore, this government data provides strong evidence that rising food prices are making it more difficult for low-income families in Malaysia to afford nutritious food.
The second evidence to the rise of food prices would be increasing cost of healthy food. Healthy food has become increasingly expensive in Malaysia, making it difficult for low-income families to maintain a balanced diet. The prices of nutritious food such as fresh fruits, vegetables, fish, eggs and dairy products have risen due to inflation, higher product costs and supply chain disruptions. As a result, many families choose lower cost alternatives that are more filling but often contain fewer essential nutrients. While these options may reduce short-term expense, they may not provide the vitamins, minerals, and protein needed for good health. When nutritious food becomes less affordable, maintaining a healthy diet becomes a financial challenge for low-income households. Last evidence for the rise of food prices would be effect on health and nutrition. Limited access to nutritious foods can have serious consequences for health and overall well-being. When families cannot afford balanced meals, they may reduce meal portions, skip meals, or rely on inexpensive processed foods that are high in fat, sugar, and sodium. Over time, poor nutrition can weaken the immune system, reduce energy levels, and increase the risk of chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Children are particularly vulnerable, and inadequate nutrition can affect their physical growth, brain development, and academic performance. Food affordability directly influences nutritional intake, health outcomes, and quality of life, particularly among low-income families. That's all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, today I will be presenting my topic rise of food prices by using a diagram also known as root cause analysis. Now let's look at the diagram. The main problem shown at the top is the rise of food prices. The first question we ask is, why are food prices increasing? The first answer is higher production costs. Food producers and farmers need many resources before food reaches consumers. These include fertilizer, seeds, animal feed, fuel, electricity, water, machinery, packaging materials, and workers. When the prices of these resources increase, farmers have to spend more money to produce food. Since they cannot absorb all these extra costs, they increase the selling price of food. This is why consumers end up paying more. The next question is, why have production costs increased? One reason is the increase is fuel prices. Fuel is used in almost every stage of food production. Farmers use fuel for tractors and harvesting machines. Food manufacturers use fuel and electricity in factories. Transport companies are also rely on fuel to deliver food from farmers to factories, supermarkets, and restaurants. Therefore, when fuel prices rise, transportation becomes more expensive, and these additional costs are passed on to consumers through higher food prices. Another important factor is the increase in fertilizer prices. Fertilizer helps crops grow better and increases agriculture production. However, fertilizer have become much more expensive due to higher manufacturing costs and disruption in global supply. When fertilizer increase, farmers either spend more money or reduce the amount they use. Both situations can result in lower crop production and higher food prices. The next factor is labor costs. Agriculture and food production require many workers for planting, harvesting, packaging, processing, and transportation. As wages increase, companies spend more on labor. To maintain their profit, they increase the prices of food products. The next question is, why are fuel, fertilizer, and labor becoming more expensive? One major reason is inflation. Inflation means the general increase in the prices of goods and services over time. During inflation, businesses pay more for raw materials, electricity, transportation, and wages. Since the cost of operating a business increases, food producers increases the price of their products. Another important reason is supply chain disruption. The supply chain refers to the process of moving product from producers to consumers. During events such as the COVID-19 pandemic, many factories closed, transportation slowed down, shipping costs increased, and there were delays in delivering goods. Even today, some supply chains are still recovering. These disruptions increase business costs and contribute to higher food prices. Now we continue asking why until we reach the root causes. The first root cause is climate change. Climate change causes droughts, floods, heat waves, and unpredictable weather. These extreme weather conditions damage crops and reduce harvests. When food production decreases but demand remains the same, food becomes more expensive because there is less supply available. Another root cause is global conflict. Wars and political conflicts affect traditional trade. Countries that produce cooking oil, fertilizer, or fuel may reduce exports during conflict. This creates shortages in the global market and causes price to increase worldwide. The next root cause is import dependence. Many countries depend on imported food, fertilizer, or agriculture materials. When exchange rates change or international prices increase, important products become more expensive. Businesses then transfer this higher cost to consumers through higher food prices. Finally, another root cause is high consumer demand and population growth. As the world population grows, more food is needed every day. However, food production does not always increase at the same speed. When demand is higher than supply, prices naturally rise. From this diagram, we can clearly see that the rise in food prices is not caused by just one factor. Instead, it is the result of many interconnected economics, environmental, and global issues. A small change in one area, such as fuel prices or climate conditions, can affect the entire food supply chain. Therefore, solving this issue requires cooperation from governments, farmers, businesses, and consumers. Governments can support farmers through subsidies and better agriculture policies. Businesses can improve supply chain efficiency and reduce waste. Farmers can adopt sustainable farming methods while consumers can reduce food waste and make responsible purchasing decisions. In conclusion, the diagram helps us understand that the rise of food prices is a complex issue with multiple root causes. By identifying these root causes instead of only focusing on the symptoms, we can develop more effective and sustainable solutions for the future. Thank you. That's all for my presentation.
Okay, next, after understanding the problems, the next step is finding solutions. Here are several ways that governments, business, and communities can work together to help control rising food prices. One of the most effective solutions to the rise of food prices is supporting local farmers. Firstly, the government can provide financial aid and support to the farmers. This helps them manage increasing costs such as seeds, fertilizers, and farming equipment. Second, farmers should also encourage to adopt a new technology. New farming methods and equipment can improve productivity and reduce production costs. Another important step is increasing local food productions. When there is a more food is produced locally, the supply of food increase and price can become more stable. Consumers also be encouraged to buy local products. Supporting local farmers strengthens the local economy and reduce transportation costs. Lastly, reducing dependence on imported food help them protect the country from global price increase. We can improve the food security and make food more affordable for everyone by supporting local farmers. Okay, next we go to the second slide where at the national level, the government also plays an important role where we can see that the government can provide a financial support and subsidies to the farmers. Then second, improving transportations and the food supply chains can reduce delivery costs and make reach consumers faster. And then third, we see that the government should also control excessive price increase through the fair pricing policies. And the last one is emergency food assistance, where we can also provide to the low income families so that they can still afford basic food during period high food prices. Alright, now we are in the end. So food is not just a product but a basic necessary for everyone. The rise of food prices have become a major challenge, especially for low income families, as it affects their ability to access healthy and nutritious food. Several factors contribute to these issues, including higher production costs, climate change, and global economy challenges. There are solutions that can help reduce its impact. Everyone has a role to play, including the governments, businesses, and the consumer also. By working together, we can improve food security, reduce the impact of food prices, and move closer to the achievement Sustainable Development Goal 2, Zero Hunger. Thank you.